we leave it to you. Bringing us to example number 2.
Parasitic Nematode.
I mean, here's another example that I actually was looking at today.
Okay, you're holding your computer up to the glass.
And on the screen is a big black ant.
It looks like it's carrying a cherry.
Right.
A cherry that's about twice the size of the ant.
That red cherry is actually parasites inside of the ant, making it look like a red cherry.
What part of the ant is that? Is that its butt?
Essentially, yeah.
Wait a second. It looks like it's sticking its big red butt up into the air.
Yeah, their behavior has changed, so they waggle around their tail, as it were.
Now, why on earth would a parasite turn an ant's butt red and then make it stick its butt up into the air? Well,
Let's say you put an ant down that has this bright red rear end and an ordinary ant in front of a bird. Bird's going to go for that red ant very quickly.
Because it thinks it's a berry.
Yeah.
And then what?
It's going to swallow this little package full of nematode eggs.
So that's the way the nematode eggs get into the sky? They buy their airplane tickets by advertising themselves as berries.
Yes.
What's the benefit of being in the air?
Well, the only place that this parasite can reproduce is inside the bird.
and how better to spread your seed far and wide than to drop from the sky
with the bird's droppings.
What? That's insane. Wow. All right. Well, okay, let's think about this. Let me break this down for you a little bit. So here's what happens. The nematode, which is a worm, by the way, here's what they look like. I know, gross, right? Okay, but if your dog's ever had worms before, this is what they are. Basically, they're round worms. And so this worm needs two animals, we call them hosts, two hosts in order to live. So the first host is the ant. And so the ants eat the eggs, right? And then the eggs end up making the ant turn its butt red and bigger. It gets much bigger. And then it even changes its behavior so that the ant will stick its butt up in the air so that it looks like a berry. That is crazy. Then a bird, right, sees a branch with a bunch of berries, doesn't notice this ant, eats up the ant with all the berries. Well, then eats the nematode eggs, right? So then the nematodes hatch inside the bird and they get big, right? They're worms. They're living inside the intestines, like the guts, right, of the worm, and they're eating the bird's food and nutrients and things like that, right? So they're kind of taking from the bird. Then the worms lay their eggs in the bird and the bird poops them out, right? And what do ants eat? Bird poop. And so then they eat the eggs and the whole thing starts over again. That's the life cycle of this parasite. I mean, it's definitely gross, right? And two animals, two hosts are harmed in the process, but it's also kind of brilliant, you know? I mean, these parasites are genius. I mean, they've come up with the perfect trick to get this bird to eat them. I mean, otherwise, the bird wouldn't eat the eggs. I don't know. How do you feel about it? I'm so curious to hear. Do you think the parasitic nematode is evil or awesome? What is your evidence? Why do you think that?